Bonjour mes amis! Hi guys, someone was asking me for an update on my Seiko collection, so I'm happy to oblige. And on my wrist, we can start with this one. It's the Seiko King Turtle, which I purchased a couple of months ago. Really enjoying the design of the piece and the modern upgrades. Speaking of modern, most of my collection is fairly modern items. About half of them are actually out of production, if not most of them. But I haven't dabbled into the vintage stuff. A good friend of mine, Stanley, is a specialist, and hopefully we'll do a video together very soon. Also, you might have seen a very good video from John P. from delraywatch.com. John P. has a channel on YouTube, very good channel. And he was talking about the price to service these watches. And I think I've mentioned it many times when unboxing one of these, is that rather than servicing them, you should probably become yourself a bit of a watchmaker if you're going to accumulate quite a few watches, especially with the 7S26 movement, the entry level movement, and the 4R, the 6R movements, because servicing them is going to cost you sometimes more than the watch itself, or half the cost of the watch. So if you're passionate, yeah, maybe you can go to Seiko for that. If you're lucky like me to be in Hong Kong, you can probably find a watchmaker locally who can do it at a low cost. It would be good probably to source yourself a few of these calibers and replace them yourself, or ask someone who's a bit more capable than me to do it for you. Because going to Seiko, even here, it's an outsourced service, bit out of town, and you go there, everything looks very Seiko-ish. They have all the models on display, and they have watchmakers, but it's basically to replace a battery. And if you go yourself, at least you will save the shipping costs. But in America, if it starts costing you $200 to service an alpinist, then what's the point, really? So if you're going to wear them a lot, do think about how you're going to address this issue. So it doesn't mean that those watches are disposable items. Maybe they are sort of built that way. But if you're a collector and you want to preserve them, then yeah, you have to consider that aspect. Having said all that, here they are. I've been babysitting most of them, not the divers, so there's a bit of grime on some of these bands, but the watches themselves are in very good nick. All of them, most of them are mint with box and papers. Yes, even these unusual pieces. Quite a few are fun homages, little digs at the big brands. So let's get into this. Let's start with the only quartz model that I have here. Actually, I also have this watch in the black and gold version. This is the classic Flatmasters. These are made in China, but the look is just stunning. Very cool. There's no click on the bezel, okay? It's a smooth bezel. You have many scales. There's a little booklet normally that you should receive with the watch, or at least a photocopy of it that some of the sellers ship with the watch. It's very interesting to see how many scales you can do, from a simple calculations to more important ones for pilots, drivers, everything about fuel consumption and miles per hour, tachymeters. Everything is on this watch. You have the date. You have an alarm as well, which can be used as the GMT function. Of course, you have lume. Pretty cool watch, very light. I have it on a NATO. It's 21 millimeters of lug width. I have a gray and a black NATO, both looking pretty good with this watch. It's quite a sharp watch with a cool domed Harlex crystal. Fun watch to own, I believe. It's pretty over there. Now, two of the favorites. Probably my favorite would be the Saab 033. You've seen many videos about this watch. TGV of the Urban Gentry should be credited for really hyping everyone up to this watch. Really well made, and it's back when Seiko was giving you a lot for less money. And this is the epitome of that spirit. For under $300, I think I paid even under 200 here before they were discontinued. You would get a sapphire crystal, great looking watch with those design cues from some of the Grand Seiko basic models. It's got loom, it's got a 6R15 movement, which for me has always been very accurate. Out of the box, actually, spot on for months. With that needle second hand, everything is really sharp on this watch. You can't fault it in any way. I mean, the work on the lugs, signed crown, little things that were lost, and now you have to pay like $500 to get this sort of spec. Bracelet, take it or leave it. I like it. I personally think it's smooth and does the job. It has the polished bevels on the side, and the clasp does its job. It's been very comfortable, not too thick. You know, Seiko tends to be a bit thicker watches, but just not too thick. And on the wrist, the little belly here is going to disappear into the wrist. Of course, you have the display case back. I'm not sure if I need to really show you this on the 6R15 movement with a bit of striping. It's just a great Seiko. I think it's what Seiko is all about. But on this one, they really pulled all the stops. So obviously, I had to have the reference 035, so SARB 035 to go along with the 33. This one has a cream dial, same specs, same everything. Different feel, obviously. Cool color. This one is mint. I haven't worn it a lot, but I wanted to have it before they discontinued it. And you have the little rehaut there, angled seconds track or minute track around the dial. Very cool little piece. Then I have the legendary Alpinist. So this is the outgoing version, which I think it's still really lovely. It's a chance to have a cool green dial in your collection. You can get from a couple of aftermarket parts makers, you can get a cool two-tone strap. I felt like it was a bit too much. I bought it and I felt a bit silly wearing it. So now it's back on this totally color-coded NATO strap. Don't ask me where I got it. I don't know what the brand is. I got these from Mr. Chrono. It's a shop here a fancy shop here in Hong Kong. They have a presence in Paris, a bit of presence online. I don't know if they will ship overseas. But this one even has the gold buckle and all the colors you find on the dial, and rotating bezel with the navigation bezel. The belly, the underbelly is a bit smaller than the one on the new version. New version, I think, has 70 hours of power reserve. It's an upgraded movement. You get the Cyclops. I got the black version. I thought it was a bit more interesting than the cream one or the green one for that matter. So yeah, Cyclops, you don't get the signature on the crown. Sort of a faded black color, while the bezel is black, glossy black. Cool watch, but somewhat not as inspiring as the this green one. It was the only option for many years, and this is how many of us got to know the Alpinist. And it's still great because you get sapphire crystal, 200 meters of water resistance, shock absorbers. Just a great watch on a NATO strap, because the strap it came with was horrible, as you know, this brown strap. Just a cool watch with the date. Gets everything done, and with a funky style. Speaking of funky, and you will have noticed if you're a bit OCD that I've set the time and the date and the day on all these watches. Here is one of the Datejust homages. I had 3 of them: the all silver, the two-tone with the gold dial, and I've kept this two-tone with sort of very light champagne dial, kind of grayish, And as you can see, the alternate language to English is the Roman numerals. Just a cool little 36mm Datejust Homage. Saves you a lot of money from buying an old Datejust, which you might hate and won't have that much of a better bracelet to, or clasp for that matter, to be honest. This one, believe it or not, it's brand new, but still see how a bit of, it's not really stretch, it's not actual stretch, that's just how it's built. I got it, if you can believe it, new old stock last year or 2 years ago. A very lucky find here on an island around Hong Kong. Don't worry, I went back there, there's no more. I bought all 3 models that I could find there. It's a very thin, very cute. Just this one is harder to find obviously than the Rolex. Everybody's asking me, where can I find this watch? Well, it's too late. I've sold the 2 that I wanted to sell, and I'm keeping this one. Now this one is even more rare. I've never seen another one. Really super mega rare. It's a bit of homage to the engineer watch from IWC with those rivets on the bezels. Actually, the bezel and the rehaut are not properly aligned with the dial and the bracelet. Probably because something that could be fixed. Just a super cool watch with the 7S36 movement, I want to say, with the day and the date. Roman numerals, alternate language again. It's a bit of a bank vault look. Sort of Omega Seamaster Aquaterra type of batik motif on the center of the dial there. Then you have a sector portion. Just so many things going on with this watch. Sorry for the poor lighting here. I have artificial light on top of me. Cool details again on the lugs. Funky bracelet, you know, with that polished center that ties in with the bezel. Classic clasp. And yeah, new old stock again with the full set, box and papers. That one is going to would be impossible to replace. I think I've seen one for sale on an Indonesian website. So if you're interested, just Google it. Don't ask me. And staying with the impossible to find homages, well, this is what I call the Explotilus for obvious reasons. I got this, I had to write in Dutch. You know, I'm from Belgium, so I have pretty good Dutch. It's on a Dutch trading platform, like a buy-sell platform, and it cost me 60 euros. You know, some people would pay $300 for a watch like this. And no, I'm not selling it. It's not worth my time to go and ship this unless you want to pay $1,000 to me, okay? You know, I've sold a few of these locally, and I shipped some of them. But really, the risk, the trouble of shipping a $100 watch is gonna be worth it, right? This is more for collecting pleasure than a business. I mean, I did recoup my money. This watch came free because I got 3 of them. So and I sold them with a profit, obviously, because I bought them actually discount to the original retail price from an old dirty shop on an island. It's just that's the things Seiko fans do. You know, I'm saying all that just to put in perspective the mind of a Seiko fanboy. If you don't understand Seiko, well, maybe you understand the issues we have in our brain. I really like back to the watch. I really like the rehaut on this watch, straight rehaut, a bit like an Explorer would be from Rolex. And then obviously you have the Nautilus kind of case, you know, nice little jab from Seiko to Patek, and the construction is the same. It still works with pins. Actually, no, this one is those horrible, really hard to remove, bizarre sort of pins with an angle. You got to push them with a little screwdriver. It's horrible stuff, and this one really pinches your wrist here. So, if like me, you're a bit hairy, you're not gonna like this one on the wrist too much. But it's cool. the look is there. And you get a day date. I mean, what do you have to pay from to get a day date from Rolex? And another homage. This one to the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. So this watch has been customized by fanboys and being called the 55 Fathoms, being a Seiko 5. It comes in different colors. Most of these watches come in different colors. So I love the look of this watch. I wear it quite often actually. I play tennis with it. So I don't know if it's still working properly, but at least it keeps time for a couple of hours. Really love the glossy look of this. Probably it's hard legs here on the bezel. You have a domed hard legs. Day date again, cool hands. Really always enjoy the look of this watch. See, you don't have to spend $10,000 sometimes. Sometimes 200 is the thing. And this is the color I like the most. There's one with a golden accent. I think it's a bit overkill. There's blue ones, I think. Different colors, but I like the look of this one. It's the closest one to the watch it homages. And I found this again, this NATO at Mr. Chrono here. Really works well. I think this color with the color of the loom actually really ties in well somehow. NATO is really comfortable, even more comfortable than those silicone straps that we're gonna look at in a second. And yeah, let's get into the proper diver. So that one is more of a fashion diver. This one is the legend. And every time I look at it, you tend to forget about it. And every time you pick it up, it's just, the look is just so cool. You gotta have the SKX. That's the 007 Japan version. The two SKX that I have are both Japan versions. So slight difference on the dial, and supposedly made in Japan. While the K versions are made in Malaysia or in China, supposedly. But just the look of this printed dial, very vintagey, like the Rolex models or the Tudors. The crown at almost 4 o'clock, not quite. Not the easiest bezel to turn. Not the most. This one I got it on the rubber, and I bought aftermarket this original Seiko Jubilee band, which also pinches hair like crazy. Won't be the most comfortable thing, but just such a cool watch. You wear that, you're cool. Even if the guy next to you has a Patek, you wear the SKX and you're cool. There's just something magic about the design of this watch. Some people think the 007 is too big. They buy the 013. I don't think it's big because there's no lug, so it's a bit like the Panerai. Really wears great on the wrist. And of course, when I heard that they might get discontinued, I jumped on the 009. I like how the fade on the blue dial here. Great looking with the Pepsi bezel. If you don't want to buy the Marine Master and spend the $2,000 or $3,000, then this is pretty much the closest thing. And so it's a real diver. It's a proper ISO certified diver. And I think you should get one in now while you can. Of course, they made gazillions of them. It's never going to be $1,000 watch, but who knows, in 50 years, maybe it's gonna get, I'm sure that now they're getting a bit more expensive already. Just get one, what do you have to lose? Just such a cool watch. But the modern, better interpretation of this ISO certified diver would be, to me, this mini turtle. So here I have a big turtle, I have a mini, and I just love the paddy version. I'm not really into paddy versions so most of the time. I think it's just a bit too busy, but this one really kills the black version, and I think it comes in 2 or 3 colors. To me, this is the one. I love the wavy dial and everything about it, the hands, the colors, the Pepsi, the bezel, the choice of the indices, everything works so well. Nice little cyclops here. The Prospex logo goes up and the paddy replaces it. There's sort of a triangular pattern forming. And if you don't have the wrist for the SKX or the Big Turtle, go for this one. You won't regret it, and get the paddy. I think it's great. The crown here is at 3. No problem for me about it. I don't need the crown at 4 o'clock. And I've been wearing this one a lot and just enjoying it. You know, it's funny. On holiday, I might take my Omega Aquaterra, and yet this doesn't pale in comparison because it's just so well designed. Beautiful little case, does the job, stays on time, and this one has the upgraded movement. It's a 4-hour movement, so it's much easier to live with than a watch that you need to shake with the 7S movement. This one, you can hand wind it, you can stop the seconds to set the time. Just very enjoyable watch. One of those perfect watches. If you compare it to the SKX, it's a much better watch. The SKX has its charm, but if you want a really good watch, I would take the Mini Turtle over it. Or one of my ultimate favorite Seikos of the past years has been this revamped Samurai, where I think is coming up probably in a even newer version, probably with sapphire crystal. This one is the Hardlex, I believe. But really cool waffle dial on this Pepsi theme. And look at how the hour hand is just flat on the dial. And I love all the design elements. I've talked about it many times. The case is so original. The crown, everything is very solid. Quite hard to turn that bezel, but what a bezel. It looks great. Everything on it, I think it's fantastic, and it deserves that we look at the case back with this engraved wave. I've worn this one a lot, played tennis with it as well. I love the pops of colors, the second hand. It's my favorite handset and indices. I really liked the ones on my Shogun, and I sold the Shogun after I got my Rolex Sea Dweller. Now I realize it was a bit stupid, should have kept it, because you never see the Shogun. You know, it's a titanium diver. Such a cool watch. Really like it. Very comfortable, of course, titanium. Sometimes the steel and even this silicone, you can get a bit of a rash with them. I remember being really miserable on holiday with my SKX, just rashes all the time. So there's something to say about the 904L steel and about of Rolex and titanium. So there you go. This is the update of my collection. Let's finish where we started. This is my latest squeeze. The King Turtle with sapphire crystal with a ceramic bezel. Really the modern interpretation of the 6105, the classic, you know, the Apocalypse Now watch, and such a cool color here, and a bit of golden color. I really love every detail about this grenade style dial, and a little pop of light. It's not flashy gold, it's light gold. Very well made. So I wear this quite a bit. Which one do I prefer, the Samurai or this one? I made a video about it if you haven't seen it. The Samurai is more sharp in its design, and this one is more of a military diver feel to it. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this tour of my Seiko collection, this SEIKOTC. These are copyrighted terms that I've just coined for you. Feel free to reuse them, but do mention Optic Watch reviews to your friends. And if you get a kick out of this, please like the video. It would be great to be able to share it more with Seiko enthusiasts. You know, a lot of people go much deeper. You know, they make the bezel fade on their SKX. They modify them. I think it's a good idea for you to become a bit more hands-on with your watches in case you have a problem with the movement, to be able to fix them yourself, so you keep your costs down and your pleasure high, because it's a bit like fixing your bike, you know. All right, I'll speak to you in the next one, and stay safe, stay healthy, take care.